Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today, we're diving back into Lady C's book. That's right, we're talking Meghan and Harry, The Real Story by Lady Colin Campbell. I am so enjoying this book. This chapter, chapter 7, we're diving into. It's super juicy. I'm excited to talk about it. You start to hear, well, not start, continue to hear them act like real, you know what holes. So we will be deep diving into that, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. Thank you so much for being here. Dead Shark Guys also thanks you for being here. Well, actually, she can't say thank you. She just give you the death stare. I have to put in a plug for my Patreon, patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. That's where you can become my executive producers, which I will be thanking later in the show. But also, guys, I have a new tier. If you are interested in helping me host an upcoming episode, there is a way to do that on patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. Check that out. I will be thanking you, executive producers, and I'm excited to be here. Let's jump into this show. So last episode, I did talk about the wedding. Here's a lovely wedding photo of Meghan. Doesn't she look nice? Like I said last time, at least she's smiling there, right? There's not a fly on her face in this picture. Weird. She's not swatting anybody's hand away. Huh. All right, so this chapter, chapter 7, it gets juicy. So they are settling into married life. Now, something that Lady C points off, it's on page, oh God, I already lost the page. It's just a couple of pages. It's like 178, I believe, that they were settling into us against the world mentality, which will work out perfectly when they go us against our families and we're victims on the Worldwide Privacy Tour, right? It was right after they got married. Meghan ended up going on this introductory tour with Her Majesty the Queen. And there's interesting parts here that Lady C lays out for us. Now, we've heard a lot about this tour in the other books, but the part that Lady C brings home is that she knew that Angela Kelly, the Queen's personal dresser, had rung Meghan and informed her that the Queen would be wearing a hat. And you're like, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, I'll tell you. That is British monarchy speak for you were to wear one too. So Meghan had informed her that she would not be wearing one, and that was that. So the reason that these minor things become important is it's just interesting to see. You'd think, wow, first tour or first engagement with the Queen, I'm going to do exactly what I'm supposed to do, but obviously that was not the case, even in small details like wearing a hat. Lady C takes the stance of interesting that she was willing to do whatever the, producers of Suits wanted her to do for that role, but for this role, she was not willing to make such concessions, even on matters such as wearing hats. Side note, just think about that. The Queen tells or lets you know this is how things are done, trying to help her out. And again, that's the thanks that the Queen gets. I swear to God, if the Queen told me to wear an empty dog food bowl on my head, I would do that. And adorn it with some flowers or something just to be the best team player. I just can't imagine they're trying to help you out and you're just like, nope, I'm going to mark my independence right off the bat. So this was interesting to me. Lady C goes on to explain about outfits and wardrobe, and it's typically that it's encouraged that the royals wear something where they can be seen in photographs, seen in crowds. It's deemed polite to make yourself visible to those who have taken the trouble and the time to come and see you. And I'm laughing to myself thinking, well, that makes so much sense. Think about the beautiful colors the Queen has worn. And then you have Meghan in this cream outfit. And then think about what Meghan was saying in her interview. She wore beige. She was not encouraged to wear the same colors as everybody else. And I'm thinking, no, this is just her, again, spinning this victim narrative and not actually telling you what's going on, which is she was just trying to be disrespectful at every step. So since Lady C goes into the fashion fails, I thought I'd put some on the screen. I've showed these before. I find them hilarious. Enjoy. Yes, that is a tag by her foot. So I'm on page 175 of the book, and if you have an interest in the fashion rules, I would encourage you to read it. I'm kind of jumping over it a little bit because she goes into big details that I never would have thought of, but surely Meghan had people around her. If she had been nicer to them, they probably Of course, they were filling her in, like what's considered cocktail attire and why one doesn't wear, apparently, what was it? It was like transparent sleeves during the day, things like that. When to wear formal morning wear and cocktail wear, and why Meghan gets everything wrong. There's her bra sticking out in an event. She even goes into why it's a good idea for the royal family to use the standard greeting of "how do you do?" Because it's friendly, it's neutral, it opens up the conversation to the other person. Meghan would never adapt to that. So she goes into why she doesn't take on the wardrobe rules. She doesn't take on the greetings. She just, well, to quote Lady C, is it ignorance or is it because she honestly thought her way was the better way? I'm guessing it's the latter. So then they go into the friendships. Well, I don't know that she has friendships, but his friendships with some of his oldest and closest friends. And Lady C says, quote, whom she clearly thought were too frivolous or too traditional for an aware and enlightened couple like Harry and herself. And Harry started to adopt that attitude as well. He's such a puppet. So it's reported with her A-list friendships, such as Serena Williams, different people like that, she hadn't changed at all. But with Harry's friends, she couldn't be bothered to be friendly, nor did she make any attempt to fit in the way she had done while she was on the up and up in Canada, New York, and London prior to meeting Harry. Then Lady C, who I love so much, goes into how Harry became as heavy-going as Meghan. I've said it a million times. I think I hate them both equally, but I go back and forth on that one. I do equally blame them, but damn, she really drug him down. He's just too stupid to pay attention to what was happening. Okay, let me get to the good stuff here. Now, they went to a wedding for Harry's Ledgrove schoolmate, Charlie Van, you can see the name there, who married Daisy Jinks. And just to put in perspective, Charlie's brother, Thomas, has been a really good friend to William and is even little Charlotte's godfather. Isn't that so cute? Okay. So again, these are good friends. Harry was in this wedding. So, of course, Meghan came along and it sounds like all hell broke loose. Lady C so perfectly explains this wedding. She says it was the atmosphere of a typically English upper class. Everyone was relaxed. There was the creme de la creme of English society, but people were really warm and friendly. And she says, contrary to what foreigners think, the British are very friendly and forthcoming, at least in the upper classes. Again, this is according to Lady C. This is where my knowledge, I have no idea. So I'm going to take her word on this. Okay. So this wedding, right? Harry was involved. And it sounds like when the cameras were there, look, she's all smiles. Things are great. She's having a great time. Although Lady C does point out she wore black, and that's not something that's done so much to a wedding. I guess the men wear those suits, but you can see she's the only one in black. But she's waving for the camera. She's friendly, right? No problem? Well, that's not really the case. So according to Lady C, as soon as the cameras were down, yeah, she turned into a nightmare. She tells a story of a girl going up to Meghan, introducing herself, telling Meghan how beautiful she thought she was. She said she knew it was Meghan's birthday. I believe it's her 37th at this point. And, well, according to her, there's some dispute over her age. And wished her a happy birthday, right? The nicest thing to do. Meghan, according to Lady C, looked as if she had committed the greatest faux pas by speaking to her and without saying a word, walked off. It was so cold, someone who witnessed the exchange told Lady C about it and, of course, called it really rude. Can you imagine being so full of yourself that you can't even muster up oh my gosh, thank you so much? It takes no effort. But nope, not her. She thought this person was beneath her, so why bother talking to them? Just walk off. But don't worry, it's not the only thing she did at this wedding. Now, I do have to include Page 179, I talked about it before. Apparently, Lady C really does not like Princess Michael of Kent. And she goes on to say none of the other royal women would ever behave like this, with the exception of Princess Michael of Kent, who takes herself as seriously as Meghan does. So Lady C goes on to explain that worse followed during the wedding breakfast. Another girl told Meghan how much she admired her and how wonderful she thought it was that Meghan and Harry were married, and how well she thought that Meghan was doing at things. She told her that she was rooting for them and wished them well. What was Meghan's response? She looked her up and down, turned away without saying a word, and froze her out for the rest of the wedding breakfast. Nice, huh? So these strangers are trying to make an effort and be nice to you. You're at somebody else's wedding. They're clearly invited guests of these people, so they're not complete strangers coming up to you. You know what I mean? They are, you know what I'm saying? It's like friends of friends, but oh my God, what a bitch. Just to behave like that. Ugh. Who acts like that? This monster does. These two belong with each other. So Harry was the best man at this wedding, and when he wasn't performing his best man duties, he and Meghan apparently kept to themselves. Someone else told me that, this is according to Lady C, someone else told me that Meghan actually walked off and went to sit on her own on more than one occasion. So this is something that Lady C goes into. She says this has a ring of truth because she was told by many different sources that Meghan has a habit of walking off from big groups. So she explains she does this because she doesn't want to make any effort to fit in. Instead, she'd rather remove herself. She only does this when she's, quote, with a man or when there's a man around with whom she has her eye. He then has to make a choice. He either leaves her to stew on her own or he goes and joins her. That way, she detaches him from the group and has him to herself. Oh, I wish Harry wasn't so painfully stupid and that he'd just leave her on her own. Fine, let her stew by herself. She can figure it out. What a miserable, miserable bitch. He's useless too. Don't worry. I'm not letting him off the hook. Yeah, so she has him to herself. And then Lady C says that she's very good at getting men to dance to her tune. Must be. I don't understand. I just, again, I go back to he's so painfully stupid. Her friend growing up, that Nikki Pretty, we've discussed her before. She's the one, if I'm not mixing it up, I think she's the one that went to England when Meghan, and they have the picture outside of Buckingham when they were young. But remember, Meghan did no research and had no idea who the royals were. I can't get through that without laughing. Anyway, she explained that Meghan is very stubborn and she would never relent. And if you didn't go to her, she'd never come to you. Well, we've seen this, right? She did it with both their families. So by this time, Meghan's various techniques had worked so well with Harry that he was happily, willingly, and entirely in her thrall. Okay, so stepping away from the wedding and just showing you bad fashion again. Here we go. So Lady C then goes on to say this is one of a million of examples of terrible behavior, not just from her, but from the both of them. That often at dinner parties they were alienating, and their public displays of affection were so ostentatious, quote, that onlookers found their conduct embarrassing. They like to huddle together, putting an invisible barrier between themselves and everyone else, as if they were the only couple who have ever been in love, and that everyone present was full of such insignificance that they had no time for them. That's the exact vibe that I think they give up. And then it goes together with the control clutch that she likes to do. And it kind of reinforces that, quote, us against the world thing that Lady C was talking about that we've all noticed. Funny enough, by acting like that, they got their wish. It's them against the world because most of the world can't stand them anymore. So then Lady C goes in to explain these dinner parties that they were reportedly attending and how they would throw a fit if they weren't seated together. And I don't know. I hadn't heard this rule, but apparently it's a rule that you're supposed to seat married couples apart because they'll end up just talking to each other, and you want everybody to mingle with the other dinner guests. And so when they were seated apart, apparently they would throw a fit until they got their way. I just want to know who's still inviting them for dinner parties. They're a fucking nightmare. The two of them. They're depressing. They're, over the top with their obnoxious PDA. Sounds like they just think they're better than everybody else. They can't be bothered to say thank you or to answer somebody when they talk to them. Who's still inviting them? Although I feel like we got our answer to that, because even when photographed lately, they're never photographed with friends. It's with people that work for them. But Lady C goes on to say that they were very heavy going in the way that they talked. Conversations were no longer the pleasure they had been before they discovered each other and had set out on the journey to, quote, reshape the world. Gone were Harry's light banter, Meghan's giggly wit and girly charm. That's, again, a quote from Lady C. I can't say that I ever saw that, but I get where she's going with that. Okay, so according to Lady C, Meghan could still be personable with her own friends, but with Harry's friends, she created a chasm of disinterestedness deepened by her flamboyant wokeness, and he mirrored her. Then Lady C goes on to say that Meghan was so pointedly anti everything that the royal world represented that people feared that she intended to detach Harry from his roots. And he seemed to be so completely under her spell that there was no point in trying to intervene, especially as how everyone who had previously tried to intercede had been frozen out. Again, where are Harry's balls? Where is his brain? So Lady C goes on to explain that the old Harry had ceased to exist. A new Harry had taken his place. This Harry sucks. It sounds like I'm just putting together things we've read from all these different books now in his own biography. It sounds like he just never grew up. He's always been a 12-year-old with an anger problem from everything I could tell. And I don't know what you want to call her, swooped right in and saw the opportunity, but enjoy the hell of your own making living with this child. It was also during this time that they became obsessed with, quote, changing the world for the better. What does that mean? Well, it's whatever they felt like at the moment. Whatever their way was the, quote, way for the better. She goes into how they often openly disparage other members of the royal family for their style of doing things, disdaining it as being, quote, stiff, out of touch, traditional, uptight, and old-fashioned. They like to criticize the courtiers for being hopelessly out of date and inefficient, declaring that they weren't, quote, savvy, like Meghan and her Hollywood colleagues who really knew how to get the message out there. When this criticism didn't gain them the latitude to function with freedom the way that they desired, they looked for who was behind the restraints being placed upon them. They concluded that, quote, everyone in the royal family, with the exception of the Queen, was jealous of them, of their popularity, their star quality, and their unique gifts, which, if properly exploited, could change the monarchy and the world for the better. Oh my God, you guys. That's the egos we're dealing with here. They thought they knew better than how this family had been doing things forever. She thought she knew better, and Harry's so stupid he went along with it and didn't say a word. And funny side note, that jealous thing, it actually really makes me laugh because that's such a juvenile response to things. That's the thing you go to when you can't think more intelligently of what's really going on. You go to, oh, well, then they're just jealous. And what's funny is if I get a criticism from a sugar, that's it. I get told I'm jealous. I'm jealous of Meghan, or I'm jealous because I want Harry, which truly makes me laugh. So thank you for that. But it really cracks me up because these two seem to think everybody's jealous of them and their supporters just buy right into it. Again, it's also juvenile and points to the lack of understanding of what's actually going on. So Lady C points out that this, again, talking about people being jealous of them, was taken to mean William and Catherine. And sure enough, it was only a matter of time before Harold and Fraud started making it clear that they believed that William and Catherine were indeed jealous of them and their greater star quality. I find this so freaking funny. And just shows how out of touch they truly are with absolutely everything. If you're in doubt, just take a look at the popularity polls and tell me who's jealous of who. I'm also going to leave this here and say, I'm sorry, who's jealous of who now? Yeah, that's what I thought. And in one of my favorite lines so far of the book, on page 186, Lady C refers to Meghan as the, quote, architect of dissatisfaction. She said this in regards to how a lot of people at the palace were realizing that even though both she and Harry were voicing identical concerns, a few words in particular were viewed at the palace as giveaways who was actually saying these things. Meghan and Harry were vociferous and using the word, quote, exploit to describe the failure of the palace to capitalize upon what they described as their, quote, unique or special gifts and star quality. Now, remember, in Harry's stupid book, he also refers back to her stardust and says it came directly from Diana. Ugh, just enough with the mommy issues. Oh, these two. I just get such a kick out of how self-assured they are and how wrong they get every part of this at every step. They had every opportunity in front of them and they've done it all so completely wrong. And also, I find it funny. Look at the picture of this classy person who wasn't able to speak to somebody at a wedding because she felt like they were beneath her. Okay. Guys, thank you so much for being here. This is so much fun. There's still quite a few pages left in this chapter. I'm going to end it here and we will continue on. This is chapter 7. We'll continue on in the next one, and I can't wait to keep going with you. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and for supporting the show. And if you want to further support, again, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps, where you can become an executive producer. So I would like to thank my executive producers so much for all the support. So a huge thank you to you guys for supporting this show. I really appreciate it. So a huge thank you, Linda. Thank you to Melissa. Huge thank you, Paige. Thank you to Teresa. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mr. K. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Aaron and Frank. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Ann M. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Ann H. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Kay King. Thank you, Glynis. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Dewey. Thank you, Patty. Thank you to Adair Becker. Thank you to Erica. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Barb G. Thank you, Diana LOL. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Allison B. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Pauline. And thank you, KT. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, Stromboli. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Carla. And thank you, Lois, for being here. Really appreciate all of you. If you want to become an executive producer, check out patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps.